and thank you for joining the Washtenaw County Road Commission's virtual public information meeting regarding the Jackson Road Concrete Rehabilitation Project in Scio Township. My name is Emma Sharp, and I am the Communications Associate here at the Washtenaw County Road Commission. I will be the meeting host today, along with our other project manager. I'm going to go over some housekeeping items before turning it over to staff for the presentation about the project, and then we will open up the meeting for your questions. Joining me in today's meeting is Assistant Director of Engineering, Aaron Burkholz. The meeting audio and video is being recorded, and it will be posted to the project webpage on wcroads.org in the next day or two. After the presentation, you'll be asked to virtually raise your hand during the Q&A. During that time, I will provide instruction on how to do this from either your computer, the Zoom app, or your touch-tone phone. The chat feature for this meeting is turned on. If you have a question during the presentation, feel free to ask it in the chat, and we will address it during the Q&A period. You can find the chat window at the bottom of your screen. If you would like to turn on closed captions, click the three dots located at the bottom right of your screen. Okay, and the floor is yours, Aaron.
Thank you, Emma. Hello, everyone. I'm Aaron Burkholz. I'm the Assistant Director here at the Washtenaw County Road Commission. I appreciate everyone taking the time to attend this meeting or view the meeting later on. One of the advantages we have with this Zoom format is it provides a good point of reference for those that aren't able to attend right now. They certainly can view it later on at their leisure. I hope to provide a good overview of this upcoming 2024 road infrastructure investment on Jackson Road. Emma, next slide, please. So again, here are the project limits. We're going to be working on Jackson Road at the west end. We refer to that as the point of beginning of the project. So our point of beginning will be Jackson Industrial Drive at the west end, and then that will extend to the east end across from Myrtle Avenue. And we refer to that as the point of ending. We will not be working in the Zeeb Road intersection, so we'll gap Zeeb Road. We won't get into that, but we'll only be working in the westbound lanes. Both westbound and eastbound are in need of work, but again, for this year's project, we'll be focusing on the westbound lanes. Next slide, please. So here's a picture of the current condition of those westbound lanes. As you can see, there is a significant amount of deterioration in the concrete along the joint lines. So anytime you construct a concrete pavement, there are going to be joints in it. We refer to the joints along the front of your vehicle. So as you're driving down the road, you go across the transverse joints. And then the joint that's alongside of your vehicle that you drive alongside would be the longitudinal joints. And what we've seen is a continued deterioration in both the longitudinal and the transverse joints on this concrete. And it's fairly widespread. The Road Commission did a project several years ago using a patching material to try to increase and provide some additional longevity in this pavement. But at this point, the pavement joints are in quite a distressed state. Next slide, please. So what we reviewed when we considered this project is we looked at a repair of the joints, removing only the concrete pavement at the joints versus a full concrete pavement replacement. We looked at the impact on traffic. We looked at the cost of those two options. And really, as we looked at it, we are further ahead at this point to completely remove the concrete pavement from those westbound lanes. So we refer to that full concrete pavement replacement as a concrete inlay project. So we'll be saving, by and large, we'll be saving the concrete curb and gutter that's along either side of the concrete pavement, but the concrete pavement itself will be removed in its entirety, and it'll be replaced with brand new 9-inch high-performance concrete pavement. Next slide, please. So the steps that are involved in a concrete inlay project would be, first we have to remove the concrete pavement that's there. And so this is an example from a project on Ann Arbor Saline Road that we worked on back in the fall of 2019. And you can see here they're running a saw along the concrete pavement to be removed. And again, that's that first step. You need to saw along the joint lines to basically free that concrete up so that it can then be removed. Next slide. And here you can see again from that Ann Arbor Saline Road project, the concrete pavement that was to be removed there has been removed. They've got a bulldozer in there basically working the aggregate base, the stone base that underlies the concrete pavement. They're making sure that that all is prepped for the new concrete pavement to go in. You can see at the far end, there's an excavator and a truck. And basically what that excavator is doing is pulling out the old concrete and loading it into the truck for being trucked off site. Next slide, please. And here you can see the placement of the new concrete. So what you see in this picture is you can see the new concrete in the foreground of the picture. In the background, you can see the ready mix truck that's discharging the concrete. And then you'll see something that we refer to as baskets. Basically what those baskets are those are dowel bars that transfer the loads, the weight of the vehicles from one concrete panel to the next. So I talked a little bit about the joints on a concrete pavement, and basically wherever you see a transverse joint, and that would be the joint that you drive across as you go down the road, there's a basket, and that's a set of dowel bars that transfers the load of your vehicle from one concrete panel to the next. So just a little bit of detail on how we build a concrete pavement. Next slide, please. So once that concrete pavement has been placed, then you come back with a saw again, and you need to saw the joint lines. And the timing of the sawing of a piece of concrete pavement is very important because the reason that you saw joints into concrete is to control cracking. All concrete cracks. And essentially what you're doing when you saw it is you're telling the concrete where you want it to crack. If the concrete is not sawed in an appropriate time frame, then you get what we refer to as random cracking. And that's where the concrete pavement itself makes its decision about where it wants the crack to be. We don't want to leave that up to the new concrete pavement. We want to show it where that crack needs to be, and that's what the sawing is after the new concrete has been placed. Next slide, please. So this is a very busy section of Jackson Road. The average daily traffic is 18,000 vehicles a day, so that's 18,000 vehicles in a 24-hour period. We have a fairly even split between eastbound and westbound. Now, again, we're only going to be working on the westbound lanes this year, but again, you do have eastbound motorists that want to use the crossovers. Those are commonly referred to as Michigan U-turns. Since this is a boulevard road, you do have those crossovers. And so again, you're going to have some people that are driving in the eastbound direction that then need to get to the westbound side of the road, the north side of the road, if you will. So we will be maintaining traffic on Jackson Road in both the eastbound and the westbound directions. But while we're doing this concrete pavement inlay project, we will be restricting the traffic in the westbound direction to one lane. So that is going to cause some traffic issues. There are going to be delays as a result of us taking away that lane of traffic. Because again, you can imagine if we have 9,000 cars a day going in the westbound direction, and we have some eastbound motorists that are coming over to the westbound direction via those crossovers, it's going to cause some challenges. And certainly that may be frustrating for motorists, and it's understandable. But really, we need to accommodate this project The way to accommodate that is to restrict the traffic to one lane only in the westbound direction. Next slide, please. So here's an example of a lane closure. I think most all of us have seen this type of a closure. This one, you've got a drum line, a construction drum line that's keeping motorists out of the construction zone. Next slide, please. So to go a little bit further into the maintenance of traffic while we're conducting this work, again, you can see here that you've got the westbound direction here is labeled Jackson Road. So where it says Jackson Road on this snip is the westbound direction. And so again, there will be a lane taken away. Of the two lanes, only one lane will be open westbound. We're going to actually start our work on the inside. So when I say inside, I mean the portion of the road that's adjacent, immediately adjacent to the boulevard, to the vegetated area. That'll be the first step in this project. We'll be removing concrete from that inside lane and maintaining traffic in the outside lane. And one of the things that's important here is maintaining access to the businesses along here. So what this example shows is we have some businesses that have more than one point of access. That makes our job a little bit easier. So in this overhead, you can see that Discount Tire, the credit union, and the Comerica Bank have 2 points of access that they share. So what we can do in this case is when we do start to work in that outside lane, we can actually work through one of the driveway approaches and maintain traffic in the other one. And then once the concrete in the first driveway approach has obtained the necessary strength through curing, we can actually open that new driveway up and we can then close the next one. So again, this scenario is easier. A more difficult scenario, but something that can be overcome, is at wine guards. That's difficult because there's only one point of access there. So in that case, what we have to do is we actually have to construct the concrete pavement only part way through the driveway. So we do part width construction. So basically, as we work on that outside lane, we're going to construct part way through the wine guard's driveway in order to maintain access on the portion that's still there. And then again, once that concrete that we've placed has cured and has remained in place long enough to obtain the necessary strength to carry vehicles, then we can flip-flop and put the traffic on the new concrete pavement. So again, I want to highlight that we're being very aware of, very mindful of the fact that we need to maintain access to the businesses along here, but there are challenges. And certainly I will be here as a resource for motorists and for the businesses. Should they have complications, I very much want people to notify me of that because we will have an inspector that's on site working with the contractor as they're doing the work. But having more than one set of eyes on a project is of benefit. So again, if there are motorists, if there are business owners that see an issue, I really would like to know about that, and I appreciate that. Next slide, please. So something that I very much want to highlight is safety. Safety for the motorists and safety for the construction workers that are working in that zone. In particular, as we're maintaining traffic, it's going to be immediately adjacent to workers removing concrete pavement, placing concrete pavement, and really people need to be so mindful. We ask that motorists be very aware of driving through this zone and avoid distractions. Don't look at your phone, please. Don't adjust the radio. Be very aware of where you're at in the lane that's open and the construction work that is ongoing. Because again, our number one priority is that at the end of the day, everyone goes home safely. But to get everyone home safely, we really need to have the cooperation of motorists. Next slide, please. This is what occurs when motorists are not mindful of the lane closure. So you can see on the left, this is a vehicle that actually drove into wet concrete that had just been placed. And you can see on the right actually is a project that we worked on in 2020 at the intersection of Ann Arbor Saline Road and Wagner Road. And you can, in this case, we had a closed intersection. A vehicle elected to ignore the closure. There were several barricades up in place. There were road closed signs. It was abundantly clear that this intersection at Ann Arbor, Saline, and Wagner was closed. And the motorist, it was during off hours when no one was on site. They elected to drive around the barricades, through the ditch, and back through the intersection on pavement that had just been placed. And this pavement in the right picture all had to be removed and replaced. Not only is that costly, but it also then results in a further extension of the project, because when you have to remove new pavement to replace it, that adds time to the project, and then it's just a further inconvenience for motorists. So again, those lane closures that we're going to be putting up on Jackson Road are in place for a reason. And I've talked previously about the steps that are involved in the construction. And I've stated a couple times that one of the steps we have with concrete pavement is concrete pavement has to cure. And it has to cure long enough that it attains strength to carry a vehicle. Usually that's in about 7 days, but weather has an influence on that. And so we will be testing the concrete. And when that concrete has obtained the necessary strength, then we will go ahead and we will open it up to traffic. Next slide, please. So this project is being funded by 3 sources. We've introduced money into the project from the current road and non-motorized millage. So the current millage is for the years 21 through 24, and this project was identified as a part of that millage. And so that's delivering on the promises that were made during the establishment of that millage. We identified it at that time that we would be investing money in Jackson Road, so we're following through on that commitment. We also, the Road Commission receives a good portion of our budget comes through Michigan Transportation Funds. And Michigan Transportation Funds are generated from fuel taxes and from registration fees. And so we're taking a portion of our budget, the Michigan Transportation Fund, we're investing that in Jackson Road. And then we're very thankful, we're very appreciative of the fact that the Scio Downtown Development Authority has contributed to this project as well. So we have 3 funding sources for the project. The estimated construction cost is $1.7 million, and that is significant. And there may be those that see the extent of the project being from Jackson Industrial Drive at the west end and Myrtle Avenue at the east end, and it being only the westbound lanes, and may wonder why it would be so much money. Why would it be $1.7 million? And a big part of that is because concrete pavement is very expensive. Now, it's very expensive, but once constructed, it lasts for quite some time. So again, it's an expensive project, but when you look at the traffic volumes, when you look at the number of businesses and the commercial traffic through this corridor, this road carries a great importance to the local economy, to the Road Commission and our effort to move traffic efficiently and safely. So again, it is a worthwhile expenditure of this funding. Next slide, please. So the construction schedule. Construction will start this summer. It will occur after the Jackson Road Cruise event. So we were mindful of that in determining what the schedule will be. And so through the contract, we're dictating that the contractor can start no earlier than June 10th. And once they start the project, then they have 10 weeks to complete it. So essentially, it's like they go on the clock. So we're allowing the contractor some flexibility as to when they start the project, no earlier than June 10th. But once they start the project, the clock on them starts. They have 10 weeks to complete the project, and the project can be completed no later than October 4th. That's as late as we'll allow them to work. Now, sometimes there are reasons for extensions of time, justifiable reasons. And so one thing that we have that's beyond our control is the weather. If bad weather occurs while the contractor is working, then they can request an extension of time. So that's something we do carefully consider. But if it is a justifiable request, then we will grant the contractor an extension of time. But certainly, as we enter into any one of our projects, our hope is that working with our contractor partner, that we do complete the project on time in a safe and efficient manner. Next slide, please. So I will go ahead at this point and I'll turn it back over to Emma, and she will discuss moving forward.
Yeah, thanks, Bert. So here is the contact information for Aaron Burkholz. If you need to reach out for any reason, just feel free to give him a call or shoot him an email. I'm going to take just 1 second and I'm going to show you guys exactly how to find the project webpage on our website. Okay, so I've opened just a regular Google browser. I've typed in our web address, which is wcroads.org. Once you get to our homepage, there's going to be a menu bar at the top. One of the options is going to be roadwork and construction. You're going to want to click on the option of current projects once the drop-down menu appears. Once you get to the roadwork and construction tab, you'll be able to see an interactive map of all the projects that we have taking place in our county. So you can click on individual projects if you want to learn more about them, and it'll take you directly to the project webpage. If you scroll even further down on the website, you'll be able to see individual project tiles. This is where you'll be able to access the project web pages. So for Jackson Road, I'll click on it. You'll be able to see a map of the general project location. You'll be able to see the timeline, the funding sources, the impact to traffic. If you scroll even further down, you'll be able to see the updates regarding the project. This will be the section where road advisories, project updates, or anything relating to public issues regarding this project will be here. We also have Aaron's contact information to the right here if you ever need it. And then we also have a section for helpful links. And the most important button is the subscribe to project updates. If you want to be up to date on exactly what traffic impacts are taking place, which side or which lane in the westbound lanes they're going to be working on, then definitely sign up for these road subscription updates. You'll get emails directly sent to you regarding our project updates and any road advisories that are sent out. Okay. Now we can open the presentation up to the question and answer portion. If you're viewing the meeting from your computer, first make sure to click on Join Audio. You can then raise your hand by clicking on the Participants or the Reactions button at the bottom of your screen, and then the Raise Hand button at the bottom right of your screen. If you dialed into the meeting from your touch-tone phone, you can raise your hand by dialing *9. As the meeting host, I will unmute participants with raised hands one at a time. I will announce your username or your last 4 digits of your phone number when it's your turn to speak. We are happy to answer as many questions as possible. Just please be respectful of each other's time. If your question is answered before you are called on, you can lower your hand by clicking on the lower hand button or by dialing *9. So does anyone have any questions that were sent in the chat? I am not seeing anyone with their hand raised. I do have one question in my chat for you, Aaron. George was saying that he owns a business on near Independence Plaza on Jackson Road, and he was just concerned about residents and customers being able to access his business. But as we've emphasized in this PowerPoint presentation, that we are going to ensure these businesses have access.
That's correct, Emma. Yeah, and as we talked about earlier in the presentation, you know, we're being mindful to providing that access through either closing one driveway and allowing access from another, or conducting the work part width. Again, it is going to complicate the movement of traffic westbound along Jackson Road, but we will be maintaining that access.
Awesome. Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions in my chat personally, and I don't see anyone with their hand raised. I just want to remind all the co-hosts to check their own chats to see if any messages were sent over to them. And I will give everyone just a few more seconds to gather if they've got any questions to ask. Okay. If there are no further questions, then once again, here's Aaron Burkle's contact information if you need to reach out to him regarding anything that you see on the construction site or concerns that you might have with the project. And thank you for attending our virtual construction information meeting regarding the Jackson Road Concrete Rehabilitation Project in Scio Township. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thanks.